Hello, everyone. This is Jason Couch, founder of Epic National Realty, and we're sitting here with Brant Osborne. He's the Director of Listing Management. Today, we're going to talk about what is a listing manager, why it's important, and why maybe you might be interested. How you doing, Brant?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
Awesome.
Great. So let's talk about what a listing manager is and why that is important.
Well, listing manager, I don't know if I created it. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but salespeople, let me rephrase that. Really good salespeople are kind of interesting creatures. Wouldn't you agree with that? They're
Definitely.
they're very good at convincing and providing value, but they're not that great at organization or customer service, so to speak. So what I did is I created this position for people who really excel in those roles. So they're really good at servicing clients, checking gauges, things like that. So that salespeople that are really talented can keep doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is getting new business. So as you know, Brant, the average listing probably takes 30 man hours from start to finish.
Hmm.
Well, 27 of those man hours are done by service staff at our company, and 3 hours are done by sales staff, which just allows a more efficient system. Plus, every seller gets multiple staff members that are focused on their result. So that's kind of why I created listing management and why it's so important.
Awesome, Jason. So, what are some responsibilities of the listing manager?
Well, the main responsibility overall is making sure the seller has an unbelievable experience from start to finish. So, our Epic agents or listing agents will basically make critical decisions, and listing managers will carry out those strategies. They also set up conference calls between listing agent and seller so everybody can get on the same page. They handle contract to close responsibilities for the listing, sign and box delivery, they manage contractors. There's a whole list of things. Basically, they make sure that the listing goes perfect from start to finish, and then they get paid really well to make sure that that client was satisfied and closed. So imagine just starting out in real estate, or maybe you're only doing a few transactions a year, and to be able to monetize transactions without selling a single client, without calling a single lead, just doing what you love, which is real estate service. And that's why it's a really good position for some.
Perfect. So, you would say this would be great for a newer agent just getting into real estate?
Really, anybody who's got the passion for it. I mean, I would categorize there's two different types of agents. There's the hunters and then the fishermen, right?
Hmm.
So hunters aren't really good at standing back and doing paperwork and doing transactional stuff. They get bored really easy because they always need something to get into. But some people don't like selling to strangers. Some people don't like the conflict or the uncomfortableness. They just like to make people happy and really service clients through successful transactions. So it really depends on the personality type. But some of our best Epic agents started off as listing managers because they learned our process from start to finish. And then they finally saw that, these guys are making a lot of money. Maybe I should look into that. So it's a really good transition into career advancement as well.
Yeah. So, basically, once they kind of have the listing management role uh, under wraps, then they can advance into more of the listing side as far as taking on listings themselves.
They can do whatever they want to do. So
Okay.
at Epic, we're a train your replacement and advance your career company. So
Okay.
whether you're a secretary, a listing manager, a contract to close staff, if you're ready to advance, we'll help you train your replacement and you can move into any position that you qualify for.
Perfect. So, I'm sure the first question that most people would ask is how would they be paid?
It's a great question. So the great thing about listing managers at Epic National is there is absolutely zero risk. There's no investment whatsoever. There's no buying leads or selling leads or having to perform. Basically, when an Epic agent has a listing already signed, that listing is handed over to the listing manager to start its process. And one of the greatest benefits at Epic of being a listing manager is you get the first right to represent that seller as a buyer's agent on their next transaction. So
That's perfect.
yeah. So historically, I would put it at about 20% of our sellers actually buy again. So really, you get to take that person to market, show them houses, and again, at that point, did you even have to find that client?
Nope.
Did you have to call the lead? Did you have to get rejected? No. So our average listing managers are making upwards of $60,000 a year without selling a single person or calling a single lead. And that's
great.
a great transition for somebody who loves real estate, but not necessarily into constantly selling to strangers.
And it's like you said, it's low risk, no money for marketing and things like that.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about you, because you are the success story of listing managers. So what industry did you come from?
So I came from the oil industry. I was in the oil industry for about 8 years. Traveled all over, and just kind of got tired of that. And that's how I met you, was actually through the Nextdoor app.
Yeah.
And got kind of working with you on part-time when I was home from the oil industry, and we decided to create this position for me and come on full-time, and haven't looked back since. So
Yeah, and then tell everybody what that's led to in your career. The ability to have cash flow out of the gate. If anybody can tell me where you can become an agent and have guaranteed cash flow out of the gate, it's very rare.
yeah. I mean, the great thing about it is, I was new to real estate, never done sales, so it was good as far as being able to learn the day-to-day stuff, as far as the transactions go, how to deal with people, how to talk to them, through certain things that go on through the transaction, and then also be able to have some income coming in while I'm learning that. And then that kind of segued into, obviously me taking on buyers that were listing their home, my own buyers and sellers, and then also ended up leading into investments. So currently we've done, I believe, 10 flips this year, which has been really successful. Looking to do probably 20 or 25 this year.
Yeah.
So it's been really great.
Yeah, so being a listing manager for Brant kept him in the game, created cash flow so that when flips arrived in front of him, he had the capital and all of his bills were handled and his stress was low, so he can focus on these high revenue activities while handling his bills doing listing management. So that's why it's an incredible segue for most. And then when you first started, how many listings were you handling at once?
Starting off, it was probably 10 to 15. Now it's grown to, 20 to 25 at a time. Some of those are at the pre-listing phase, some are, on the market, and then others are in the contract to close phase.
That's right. So our average listing manager right now has the capabilities of handling between 50 and 70 closings every single year.
Yeah.
And that really only takes up, how many hours would you say the average listing management takes from start to finish?
I would say 5 to 10, depending on, how long it takes to get under contract. But like you had mentioned earlier, giving the feedback, constantly touching that client, giving them the feedback, and making adjustments as far as our strategy, as far as listing it and marketing it. But yeah, I would say around 5 to 10.
Yeah, that's about right. I put it at about 7 hours or so. If you take every email or phone call or trip to the house, including drive time, I think it would probably be 7 or 8 hours of listing.
Yeah.
So what's amazing to me is it's very rare to find income that's not at risk. So the reason a lot of realtors make really good living is because they're totally at risk. Their whole life is a roulette wheel. They have to spend the money, run their business, sell the client, do contract to close, do listing management, and all of that at the same time, which is why they're rewarded, because all of the risk is on them. Now, the average nurse has to go to school for, I believe, was it 4 or 5 years? Your wife's a nurse, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, so you have to go to school to 4 to 5 years to make around $50 to $60 an hour. Our average listing managers make $80 to $100 an hour with zero risk. And our training platform probably takes about 3 or 4 months to be an absolute expert at it. So that's why there's 2 different types of income. There's no risk income, which are like jobs, and there's at-risk income, which are like running businesses. So listing management has such a great hourly revenue for as little risk as you take. That's what I love about that position.
That's great. So let's talk about, I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, about the opportunities for growth within Epic whenever they start off as a listing manager.
Yeah, so again, we're a train your replacement and advance your career company. So if listing management, you feel you've grown out of it, you can become an Epic agent. Now, Epic agents are kind of like the star of the show. So you take any group like, I don't know, Celine Dion, for instance. I don't know why I always bring her up. I don't even listen to her music, but she has somebody who runs her merchandise. She's an agent and a manager, sets up the stage. She just shows up and sings, right?
Yeah,
And that's
has
what
the whole team that does everything.
the whole team. So that's kind of how we structure our business at Epic. We take the super talented agent and create a tour for them with all of these service staff so they can keep just singing, because that's where their talent is, right?
Yeah.
So you can be mentored by the Epic agent that you're servicing. You can get another territory. You can learn to sell to strangers. You can take over contract to close staff. You can go into real estate investments and flip houses like yourself. The sky's the limit. The best thing about it, though, is your bills are handled while you decide where your passion is. So I don't know what the true stat is, but I think 80% of agents are done within 2 years. And I think the main reason, when all the smoke clears, is anything you do today as far as effort for your business, you don't get paid for 4 months.
Yeah.
So there's just constant 4-month lag.
So it's all about momentum.
That's it. So everything that I did yesterday as an agent or as a business owner, I don't see until April.
Yeah.
That's April money,
Yeah.
right? And once you understand that, it takes a while to understand that, then you can become successful. But a lot of agents have this cycle. I'm sure you've noticed it out there, where they spend all of this money and all of this time trying to get a client, and then they spend a couple months servicing the client, and then they get their commission check to find out that they have to pay all of their bills from the previous 3 months, and then they start all over again.
Yeah.
And it's a vicious cycle. So listing management allows you to create a smooth income that has no risk while you try to get your big hits.
Awesome. And that kind of led into my next question as to why most agents fail.
That's it. Every agent is a business owner. It's a business within a business. The problem is when agents first get into the business, they still have an employee mentality. So they don't spend the proper amount on marketing. They don't do time management correctly. These are all skills that are learned over time.
Yeah.
And a lot of agents will get frustrated and then decide they want to go back and be a teacher or a nurse or whatever industry they came from. So being a listing manager first is the safest way to get to the big time in real estate, because it handles your bills and keeps you in the game. Thank you for watching our intro to listing management. If you think you might be the right candidate, just click the button below and schedule your confidential interview. We'd love to talk to you, and let's see if this is a good fit. Thanks for watching.